Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me come in today. My name is John Couvrette with a company called T2 Systems, and we're focusing on the parking world. And I've spent a fair amount of time in the transit side. So you're going to hear some comments today that really focus in on our perspective from the parking world as to how we can integrate and communicate and work closely with you folks in the transportation world. It was great to hear Susan Shaheen kick off this morning. The core product that I created some 5 years ago, she was part of a US DOT program where we were counting semi-trucks going into rest stops so that drivers knew what spaces were available and how many spaces they had before they actually got there. So that was kind of the crux of it, so it was great to see her today. I'm going to talk a little bit today about benefits that parkers get from vehicle counting, do a little bit on the technology that's available, and then the solutions that we've had for municipalities, private operators, transit systems, and ITS folks. One of the most popular statistics in the parking world is rated right back to transportation, and that popular statistic states that 30% of urban traffic are drivers looking around for a place to park. So when you take a Google Maps and get direction to a particular address for a building you want to go see, it takes you directly to a building but not a place to park. And so then you become that 30% statistic of people driving around looking for a place to park. And the reality is there are plenty of places to park. There's plenty of places available. People just don't know where they are. I know personally I avoid going into some downtown areas because parking can be such a pain that I just completely avoid it. Some of the benefits that you get for having real-time counts, which turn into real-time occupancy, is you can actually take this data, feed it to the cloud, and give access to real-time parking availability to parkers, whether it's when they're driving in, like this is shown here, or we can even feed that data out to smartphone apps. It enables parkers the ability to quickly locate available parking. That 30% statistic is actually being used a lot in the university arena for reducing congestion. If I can get people to a parking space faster, it reduces that congestion and the resulting carbon footprint. There isn't a public entity out there that doesn't have sustainability as part of what they're doing, and commuting is a substantial part of the carbon footprint. So a little bit on the vehicle counting technologies. How do we count? Well, there's different ways to count. One in the middle are inductive loops, and those are just like what you have in all your traffic signals. And these inductive loops count cars as they come in and out of the facility. And the last one is video. And so video is a growing technical capability out there for counting vehicles. And the graph down here is just a typical day in the life of a parking lot of what the occupancy is during the course of the day. And that's where a lot of this data starts to be a good building block as far as what you can go do with the data. The solutions for the universities, we have universities that have students that go to school Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Other students go to school Tuesday, Thursday. You have morning students. You have evening students. Having the knowledge of what their lot utilization is enables you to better plan. There's an effort afoot, certainly in the multimodal world, of trying to get people to get out of their cars and not drive. So if we can have a better understanding of what the lot utilization is, I don't have to build as many lots. And the analytics helps you build best practices, both in your operations on campus, but also what's coming in from outside the campus. We see Department of Transportation's wanting to get their hands on the data of coming and going and availability so they can get that out to the roadways to help give people remote guidance to better arrive at their facilities. For some of the other things that are university specific in the parking world is you can optimize your permanent parking sales, the campus traffic congestion. We've been working there are 700 universities signed up for carbon footprint reductions, and some 20 to 25% of typical carbon emissions on campus comes from commuting. And so if we can help them reduce that, it enables them to go off and accomplish their sustainability objectives. In the municipalities, I'd heard that there were some government entities on the phone, so on today's presentation, not sure how many were municipalities, but I just left to do this presentation. I left a presentation that the city of Houston was giving and what they were doing with the actual parking data and how it's helping them better manage city, help them better manage parking rates, try to drive behavior of how and when they want people to park and where they want them to park. And also, when you have this kind of data that's available to you, it just creates a better experience for the parkers. I mentioned earlier, I avoid going into downtown areas because of parking hassles. And if I can have a predictable experience when I get down there, it certainly opens the door for folks like me to get back and get into downtown and enjoy all the things that downtown areas offer. Private operators, those are the companies that actually run most of your off-site parking lots. The SP Plus and ABM and LAS parking are the top three that are out there, and there's a host of them that are regional. And they're essentially property managers, and by knowing what's going in and out of the parking facilities, it helps them better manage their parking inventory, being able to do enforcement, to know how many cars came in, how many actually paid, and then also to determine this notion of an optimal transient parking rate using data. So that just says, how much should I charge to actually run my operations? And what's nice about these types of systems that are out there, you do have a physical install at each parking facility, but it's easily scalable because all the data gets shipped out to the cloud. And now that I've got this data in the cloud, I can ship it to multiple destinations. So if I've got a municipality that needs it, or a Department of Transportation needs it, or even a third-party app that needs the data, we can get that data into their hands and get that delivered up to various customers. One of the things that I've had a number of discussions with transit systems is being able to tell commuters which parking facilities are available. Coming in from outside of a town, heading into town, and the first train stop as you're coming into town is a favored place for commuters to pull in and park. Well, what happens a lot is that first stop, the parking lot's full. So the commuter pulls off, they take a look at the parking facility, it's full, and they say, I don't have availability, so I'm just going to hop on the freeway and go all the way into town. Well, the reality is the next stop has plenty of spaces, or two stops, and it's within a mile or so down. And if we can get that information to commuters who are approaching a lot that's full, but hey, just go one more mile down, get off on that space, on that exit, then you're going to be able to, efficiently park, which also is going to increase your ridership. That's that customer service. People, if they've got a good, predictable experience in front of them, they're going to go off and recreate it. And that remote guidance, I was part of another presentation that's similar to today. Is this is all showing up now in vehicle navigation systems. So General Motors, Ford, all the major car manufacturers are taking this type of data and making it available to the commuters so that they know where they can park. It's not just going to be, it's just not on an app. The data that's showing up on apps today is also now showing up in the in-vehicle navigation system. And then from the ITS standpoint, I've spoken with folks in the traffic signal world that tell me that parking is nothing more than the destination point of traffic and a point of origin for traffic. And for large venues like stadiums or Disneyland or those types of things, it makes inherent sense that, hey, the city of Anaheim wants to know when Disneyland is emptying so that they can have the traffic signals behave better. But the engineers who run the traffic management systems tell me that if they can have the aggregate of all the downtown lots in a given area and get real-time access to ins and outs, they can actually feed that into the traffic system and have some intelligence going based on traffic flows that are being created that have, again, that point of origin of parking lots. And then that just, flows through. It reduces your congestion. Commuters can get to their spaces quicker, better experience, and it's interesting. You started in introducing me. You said, we've got John here who's going to talk about parking, and parking's pretty cool. And as odd as that might sound, parking is pretty cool. And when you can start taking this type of data and start using it in an intelligent manner to help drive, a sustainable story, a good customer satisfaction story, better operations for offices, it actually is kind of cool to be on the parking side.